Leaders, real life leaders.
Hey guys, welcome to today's episode, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Dustin Heiner. Our topic today is how to create a six-figure automatic real estate investing business with working only 30 minutes a month. And I am always passionate about creating passive income, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So Dustin, welcome.
Thank you, Chantel. I really appreciate you having me on the show. I love talking about real estate as well as passive income. And it's almost more, not just real estate, because real estate's fantastic, but it's what it affords me to do in my life, basically not work for somebody else, being able to have financial freedom. So I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, it's funny that you say that because my two passions are, I would say I have three. My passions are health. I'm super passionate about health because I feel like that's number one. Well, let me say this. My first passion is someone's relationship with God and how to grow closer in their relationship with God. Number two, health, because if you don't feel good and you wake up every day and you feel terrible, that's not good. And then number three is passive income. And number four is real estate. So I feel like we are right there on the same page. So tell us a little bit of a background of what kind of happened, how you got into this. And I love your shirt that says successfully unemployed. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I always wanted to have the idea of not working for somebody else, like growing up. I've always been entrepreneurial in my life. And I'll fast forward to the end, but then I'll jump back to the beginning. So when I was 37 years old, I was able to quit my job because I had enough rental properties, single family homes, residential, 4 units and below, that I had enough passive income from those properties that I literally did not need to work because all of my expenses were covered. And so when I was 37 years old, I quit my job, traveled the world with my family. It was a blessing. But I'll quickly go back to the beginning, and I want to share with you a story that it basically will help you understand how I literally got over the hurdle and was catapulted into real estate investing. So I've always been entrepreneurial in my life. I even had a newspaper route when I was like 13 years old. That's where you ride on a bike with newspaper bags and you throw newspapers at 5 a.m. and bang on garage doors, wake people up. So I've done that. I had a graphic and website design company, had a pizzeria, a convenience store, a skateboard manufacturing business. So I had lots of businesses, but they were not passive income businesses. At the same time, bought 1 or 2 rental properties. So I knew that's the direction I wanted to go, but I didn't necessarily jump into that. Now, I'll tell you how I really got pushed into this. So I was working a regular 9-to-5 job. And, we are all taught from ever since we're born, you go to school, you get good grades. Then you go to college, you get good grades, getting thousands and thousands of dollars into debt. And then you take that piece of paper, that degree that you get, and you hopefully go get a job. Well, I was doing that exact same thing, all the while trying to start businesses. None of them were really doing all that great for me to be able to quit. And so I was working a regular 9-to-5 job. I was doing technology at a local government in California. Now, this is really what catapulted me into it. So I was working 9-to-5 job, and my wife and I started having kid after kid. And we got to 4 kids. And if you can see it in the background, you can see my 4 kids in the background. And so all these properties I would literally give to my kids. But at the time, I only had like 1 or 2 properties. My wife had our 4th child. I'm working 9-to-5 job, and I go on paternity leave. That's where the dad stays home with the mom, changes poopy diapers and bonds with the baby and all that good stuff. And so I'm out for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, and I get back to work. And that week that I get back to work on a Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon, I get a call from my boss's secretary, the top dog. She gives me a call and says, "Dustin, would you please come to the boss's office?" And I said, "Sure." And then I hung up the phone and I paused for a second. I thought, why in the world are they calling me to the office? Like, this is weird. It's Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. And as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking back a couple months before I went on paternity leave, there were some rumors or some rumblings going on in the office that there could potentially be layoffs. And I immediately shook that off. Like, no, I have so much seniority. I've been here about 12, 13 years now. My bosses think I do a great job. And I sit there and I think, no, it's not going to happen to me. So I get up and I walk down the hallway to my boss's office. Now, Chantel, this hallway isn't very long. In fact, it's rather short, but every step that I take, it feels like the hallway gets longer and longer and longer because I started thinking, oh my goodness, this could be the day that I get laid off. And my feet feel like they become lead bricks and I could barely walk down the hallway. Well, I get down the hallway and I turn the corner and I see my boss's door. His door's closed and his secretary looks at me and sheepishly she grins and kind of smiles at me and says, Dustin, would you please have a seat? She's trying to console me with her eyes because she knows everything about what's going on. I know nothing about what's going on. Well, I take a seat. And as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about my life. Like, oh my goodness, if I get laid off, all this time working this job, is that a waste of my time and life and going to college and do all that stuff? And then at the same time, oh my goodness, we just had our fourth child. How am I going to put food on our table? How am I going to make sure that we have a roof over our heads? Well, the weight on the world just keeps crushing down on me. My hands get all clammy. My forehead gets all sweaty. And then the door to my boss's office opens up. And out walks a lady with a piece of paper. She's a coworker, a piece of paper in her hands. And she is noticeably distraught, noticeably upset, but she's not necessarily crying. But you can tell her world has been rocked. And my boss says, Dustin, would you please come into the office? So I get up and I go into the office and I get laid off. And remember, this is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off from the government. But if I did, then anybody can. So I take that layoff notice and I walk back to my desk and I sit down and I realize two things sitting there right then and there. Now, I could have sulked. I could have just went in a shell and just not did anything. I said, no, I can't do that. So the first thing that I realized, Chantel, was I need to get another job. I need to be able to provide for my family. So I was really, really blessed, praise the Lord, to be able to go to another department in the county that had some money, transferred over there. It started working there for the next few years. So that was a blessing. But the second thing, as I'm sitting there just getting laid off, I realized that I need to make sure that this never, ever happens to me again. And I realized that whenever anybody would ask me the question, Dustin, what do you do? I would say, well, I work for the county. I do technology at the county. Well, I'm telling everybody my value is in my job. Now, I've come to realize job is an acronym for JOB. It's just over broke. You're working and you're living just over broke because here's the reason why you're not getting paid for the value that you bring. Number one, you're only getting paid as much as let me say it the right way. Your boss is only paying you enough to keep you working without quitting, but not so much money it takes money out of their pocket. So if you get paid for the value you're going to be paid, that you bring, you're going to be paid so much more. So what I did, I've started buying rental property after rental property, got this new job and was able to save money to buy next property. Eventually I had 30 plus properties. And I realized, my goodness, even though I'm making $75,000 a year here, I literally don't need to work. So I'll fast forward the story and say that at the end, I walked to my boss's office. This was like maybe 5 years later. I walked to my new boss's office and I said, boss, I'm laying you off. And, jokingly saying that, but basically I gave my 2 weeks notice. And I said, boss, I'm done. He said, Dustin, what are you going to do? I said, well, I don't have to do anything. I have real estate that makes money for me in passive income. I have plenty of properties that make me a minimum of $250 a month in passive income. So I'll round out the story, Chantel, by saying this. I walk to my work usually like every single day, 1,000 times, a mile and a half walk downtown, and contrast that to that short walk down that hallway where my feet became lead bricks. This last walk away from my job, I felt like I was walking on clouds because I knew I would never, ever need a job again. So everybody listening, you need to realize that your value doesn't come from your job, doesn't come from what you do. My value comes from my God, my family, and myself. And so whenever anybody would ask me the question, Dustin, what do you do? I would tell them I am an investor. I am an investor. Now, it may so happen that I have a job and 100% of my money comes from my job. That's now my part-time job. I am a full-time investor. So everybody needs to realize this. Your value comes from you and not your job.
I love that. And I one of the things that I heard you say, when I talk to people, obviously, I own a real estate company and we're passionate about passive income. And the way that we do it is I actually give an example when I talk to people and I say, with our company, you attract agents to Canzel Realty. And by doing that, you make a percentage on everything they do. And there's 5 levels deep. So then if they attract somebody, and so forth. So that's how that works. And one of the examples I give is I say rental property is actually not 100% passive income, because even if you hire somebody. Like I have a bunch of rentals and I have a property management company. Now it takes very little of my time because I've said to them, don't call me if the problem is less than, $1,000. So if it's $1,000 or less, just take care of it. I don't want to hear about it. Don't call me because just even them calling and saying, the dishwasher's broke, I need to get someone out to fix it. And then I say yes, it's like, just do it. Right. Now, if it's something bigger, like if it's a fence or something like that, I'll say, if it's more than $1,000, like I just had to get a brand new fence and it was $4,000 for one of my rentals. I say, okay, contact me and so forth. So there is still, you're still doing some work depending on how many rentals you have. Even if you have someone managing it, there's some decisions that you still, unless you just say, whatever decision, I don't care what it is, just do it and send me my rent check. You probably want a little bit of control on that. So talk to us about that. Like where do you kind of draw the line? Like who do you have running it? And honestly, what are the decisions that you are making in that rental property?
Yeah. So I love not doing anything in my real estate investing business. In fact, what I try to do is I make sure that I have other people do all the work. And just like you said, Chantel, you need to put in business systems and business processes in place so that they know how to run your business without you. And so you say $1,000. I find that's a little high on my end. I like saying if it's over $200, then you call me or call me or send me a text or an email. And in looking at that, I can basically make sure that all my expenses are really well covered, meaning I don't want them to be spending like nickel and diming me for anything over like $250 or $199. You can get nickel and dime for that. So, but getting back to making this business passive. Now, what I love, and it's sad, I get a lot of people. So I coach a lot of students how to do this as well. And I've also talked to other investors. And what happens is they basically make themselves a job and they start to think that they have to manage a property. And they even think, well, I can't afford a property manager. Well, what's the sad thing is when people buy a property, they do not account for something like a property manager. Now, that's an expense that we as a business owner, because I view my properties as a business. In fact, let me give you an example. So what I do whenever I invest is I build the business first. I don't buy a property. I build the business first. Now, what that means is if I am going to buy a property, I'm going to make sure I have the business to then put in place to run that property automatically so I don't have to do it. Let me give you an example of what that looks like. So if you're going to start a convenience store, a convenience store, it's, candy bars and soda machines and all that sort of stuff. If you're going to start a convenience store, you're not going to sign a lease on a location, open the doors and set a box of candy bars inside there on the ground and hope to run a business. Now, you go out of business in like 2 seconds. What you would do, though, is you would build the business first. You get the gondolas. Those are the shelving units that all the candy bars go on. You get the countertops, the cold storage, the fountain machines, bank accounts, cash registers, insurance, employees. You would do all of that before you bought any inventory. Once you have the business built, that is when you buy the inventory and put it into your business. Same thing with rental property or real estate investing. We build the entire business first, and then we buy property. And those properties, every single one is a piece of inventory that we put into our business. Now, what you're going to hear, a lot of people are going to tell you that if you buy one property, that property is your business. That's not the way you should look at it. In fact, I buy a lot of properties off of people who do it that way, that do it the wrong way. And what I do is I buy from them because they're so fed up. They think, I can't afford a property manager. They told me it was a business and it's not working out well. But what we do is we build the business first, and then we buy the inventory and put that into our business. And this is what it looks like if you're going to invest in real estate. You need to find the right people. Now, a lot of people go right to realtor, like they find an area of the country. They said, let's jump right to a realtor. I don't jump to a realtor right away. My first thing is a property manager. If you don't have a manager, just like any business, if you start any business, you need somebody to manage that business, or you're going to have to do it yourself. I look for a property manager first. Then we find realtors. Then we find contractors, wholesalers, plumbers, roofers, inspectors, all these sort of business people that in our business before we buy any properties. Once we have the business set up, the right people in place to run the business, then we buy the property and we put it into our business. And on top of that, like you said, Chantel, we put in business systems. This system is basically giving them the processes. If this happens, then do this. If this happens, then do this. I could go through how I do it in my business, but that's what I do is I make sure we build the business first before we do buy any properties.
Hey guys, I'm so excited. My new book, One Meal and a Tasting, is out now. And if you order the book on Amazon, just the regular paperback edition, if you go in and make a review, you will get the audio book for free. Send a copy of your receipt to questions@chantelrayway.com and you'll get the audio book right away. So, okay, I want to stop you for a second. So when I hear you say I'm going to go to the property management company first, are you saying, like, first I want to ask you, where are you getting these properties? Like, are you calling maybe some of the property management companies like a Renters Warehouse or an RPM and saying, hey, listen, I'm looking to buy a rental property. If you have anyone that says, I've got a tenant who's in a 2-year lease, they want to sell it and, you want to take it over, can I buy that? Is that one of your strategies, or what are you doing? Because right now, and it's funny, I actually just posted for anyone that's interested, the 10 reasons of why the inventory is so low. So if anyone wants to go to Canzel, I did a very good video that's very in-depth on the 10 reasons why we have no inventory right now. So buying the rental properties right now is an issue. So I want to kind of address that too. But where are you getting the properties from?
So yeah, I'll give you the tools that I put into my business, basically the ways that I find properties. So a lot of people think going to, and remember, I'm an investor. I actually don't even have a real estate investing license. I love working with realtors who know how to have investment properties. A lot of realtors that you would normally call up, they don't understand how to talk with somebody like me. They'll say, oh, look at the curtains on this house and look at the yard and this. I'm like, I don't care about any of that stuff. How much money am I going to make in passive income? So the type of realtors that I work with, I try to find ones that understand passive income. Now, if a realtor understands passive income, knows how to find those properties, I'll buy them all day from the realtors. In fact, I have realtors that love me because I just keep buying properties through them. But at the same time, I have many ways to find properties. Now, I want to jump back and say that's a mistake that most people do when they want to start investing in real estate. They jump right to a realtor. They jump right to, let's find the property. That's the mistake. I'll be completely honest and say, a lot of students that I coach, we find an area of the country to invest anywhere in the country. Let's say, they're living in California, they invest in Ohio. And they say, hey, Dustin, I found a great city in Ohio. Let's say Dayton. Let's say Dayton's a city in there. I found Dayton and I got 5 realtors sending me deals. I'm like, whoa, slow down. If you got a property, who would manage that property for you? Oh, I don't have anybody yet. I'm like, well, that's the hard thing because there are plenty of realtors. Now, I know I'm going to offend a lot of people. There are plenty of realtors out there, but we all know there's much fewer property managers. Who wants to manage a property? I don't want to manage a property. And so there are much fewer properties. The last thing that you want to do is think you have a good property, hopefully be an asset. You buy it, spend this, and I'm going to run an overview of the wrong way to do it. This is the way I was told when I first started doing it in 2006, when I first started investing. It's the wrong way to do it. So don't do it this way. But they say, okay, what you want to do is find an area of the country to invest and make sure that you can make passive income on the property. Then you find the property, you run the numbers to make sure you're making $50 a month in passive income. And then you spend thousands of dollars of money to buy the house. Then you spend thousands of dollars to fix it up. Then you find a tenant to actually live in it. Then you find a property manager. Well, in my opinion, that's just about backwards. And the reason why, if you buy a house and you think I'm going to be making money in passive income with this property, you put all that money out, you finally go to find a property manager and you can't find a property manager, or every single property manager is coming to you say, no, I'm not going to manage those properties in that area. Like, this is a bad area. I don't want to get shot, so I'm not going to do that. Well, you don't have an asset anymore. You have a liability. So a lot of people jump right to finding the properties. if you're going to be an investor, you need to be thinking about who's going to manage the properties first. So giving round two, the Dayton idea. Let's say you're going to be investing in Dayton, Ohio. You're like, great, this area has a lot of really good inventory. Now, I know, Chantel, like you said, a lot of places, their inventory is very, very low. So I'm definitely going to check out that video on that. As inventory is low, what we need to do is make sure that we, number one, have somebody to manage the property. And then we find lots and lots of ways to find properties. I'll give you an example. Remember, like I said, I give you a bunch of tools that I use because I'm an investor. Like I've had some realtors say, hey, I want you to sign an exclusive deal with me where any property you buy it through me. I'm like, no. How about this? And again, this is probably a little aggressive. I would tell them, how about any property that you sell, you only sell it to me? They're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, yeah, it's a give and take. You give me good properties, I'm going to buy them from you. I'm not going to go around your back. I'm a stand-up person. So here's what I do. I love working with realtors. Realtors work hard, but I also work with wholesalers. I also work with other investors. I also work with property managers. I tell everybody, if you remember what I told you at the beginning of the show, I started telling everybody that I'm an investor instead of my job was, I was working for that job. I started telling everybody I am an investor. Because I tell everybody that, people bring me deals all the time. I buy them through realtors. I buy them through even title companies. Hey, this deal fell through. You should call this guy up. Wholesalers, other investors. Definitely all these different types of ways to find properties because deals come all the time. But at the same time, on top of that, there are fewer deals we know now. It's a seller's market. So we need to have as many deals coming into our, funnel or system in order to find properties. I've even done yellow letters, like the little postcards. I just try to find as many properties as I can and then buy them up as quick as I can.
So if you would say to people, what is the biggest mistake that you have made? And what would you say that you would say, okay, this is the big, top one, top two mistakes you've made. And what would you advise people how to not make that same mistake?
The biggest mistake that I ever made was not hiring the right property manager. And some people might have heard this, like maybe you talk to your aunt and your aunt says, oh, don't invest in real estate. You're going to get these 2 a.m. phone calls. You're going to get, these probably going to destroy the properties. Well, there's ways to mitigate that, ways to go around that, and ways to fix things. So my number one thing that I did wrong was, and if you remember, I told everybody, I walked you through, we need to build the business first in our real estate investing. Well, my first rental property that I ever bought in 2006, I didn't do it the right way. I was listening to all those quote unquote, gurus or whatever, they say, just like I told you, this is the wrong way, run the numbers, buy the property, then find somebody to fix it up, then all that sort of stuff. That's the wrong way. And I did that. And then I found just a regular property manager. I said, hey, you got a pulse. You say you're a property manager. You're trustworthy, right? Go ahead and start managing my property. Well, within 6 months, she started stealing from me. It was a whole bad story of her business, other business, like a sub sandwich shop wasn't doing well. So she started stealing money from me. I did it the wrong way. That was in 2006. Then I realized, well, remember, I said, I'm always been entrepreneurial, always love the idea of business and doing business. I said, let me approach this in a different way. Instead of viewing a property as a business, view my business as owning inventory, owning properties. That's the biggest problem that most people come across is, you know what, let me just buy a property. It looks like it's going to work. And then trying to figure out how to manage a property because there are so many different properties out there that if you go to a bad area and you can't find a good property manager, then you're going to be stuck. Well, I'll give you the example. I'll help you to understand how to not do the wrong thing that I did, my biggest problem. So my biggest problem was finding the wrong property manager and putting them in place. The right way to do it, and this is what I tell all my students, this is what I do. I invest all over the country. And so wherever I go to a new place to start investing, I interview at least 6 to maybe 10 property managers multiple times to figure out which one works the best for me. In fact, what's interesting, I have my own YouTube channel that I teach people how to invest in real estate. The most watched videos that aren't necessarily as important, it's like how to get financing for a property. Well, you can get financing all over the place. The ones that are so least watched, like literally get very, very few views, are how to find the right property managers, how to manage them, how to make sure you're running your business to where you're not losing money, where you're making more money. they don't watch those videos about property managers because it's not sexy. It's not something that people are really like excited about. But that is the most important, because if you remember what I said at the very beginning, I am going to literally give all of these properties that I own to my kids. This is going to be generational wealth that I am creating so that I can then pass it on. But if I don't have a right person to manage the property, if I didn't build the business first, and if I didn't have the right realtors looking for properties for me, I can't grow my business. So that's the biggest thing, is we need to build the business first and then focus on passive income. Now, let me give you a quick example. I know I'm sharing a lot, but I want to give you one more quick thing. So another big thing that a lot of people go in the wrong direction is they don't go for enough passive income. I teach all my students, and what I do myself is I go for a minimum of $250 or more from every single property in passive income. Now, that's without working. Obviously everybody else do the work. Now, what's interesting is if you go for $50 a month in passive income, that's not that much money. $100 a month in passive income, that's only $1,200 a year in passive income. If you have one furnace go out, wipes out a lot of your passive income. So what we do is we shoot for $250 or more. And I just thought, if I'm going to quit my job, if I want to be financially independent, I just need to make sure that I have enough passive income that's going to take over my expenses. So if you buy one property that's $250 a month, that is $3,000 a year without working. If you bought 10 properties, that's $250 a month. That is $30,000 a year without working. That's $2,500 a month in passive income. 20 properties is $5,000 a month in passive income, $60,000 a year without working. I just saw, man, if I just keep implementing this business over and over again and buying properties and scaling the business up, I'm going to eventually be able to quit my job. So that's another big problem I see. People don't shoot for enough passive income and account for all the expenses like a property manager. We account for that expense before we even buy the property. I don't have to get a job to pay for my property manager. My tenants pay for all that.
I don't know about you, but I think there's something really special about having a group that you can connect with, a group you can grow with, and a group that you can learn from. That's why we created Connect in 40. It's just a small group, but it's virtual. It's a place where we can meet and we watch a powerful speaker, and then we talk about what we learned and how we can apply it to our lives. And so it's amazing. It's on Wednesday night, every Wednesday at 7 Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. And it's just 40 minutes. It's awesome. It's powerful. So go to connectin40.com. That's connectin40.com. We hope to see you there. So let's talk about the numbers, because to me, that even the 250 seems a little bit slow, but let's talk about real specific numbers. So where are the numbers that you're looking at? So like say, okay, I'm going to buy houses that are 200,000. This is how much I'm going to rent it for. Try to be as specific as possible. So like, what would be a reasonable, because sometimes people say, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. It's like, yeah, but there's no chance in heck you're going to get it. So give me some real specific numbers, but that's actually reasonable to attain.
Absolutely. So I'm going to say this, and a lot of people that live on the coastlines won't understand this, but there still are properties for $100,000, $80,000 in America. There still are properties like that. So we look for, even though we might live on the coast. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. Properties here, like my house I'm living in, it's a smaller house, but it's $400,000. I'm like, I don't think it's worth that much, but that's what it's going for. But still in other parts of the country. And what I found, the Midwest is fantastic. Going down to the Carolinas and the Southeast into Florida, you're going to find a lot of great properties that you can buy for, like say, $80,000, $100,000, $120,000, and make that money in passive income. Now, I don't want to get into a mortgage, a $400,000 mortgage, and that's a lot of money. That's a lot of a mortgage payment. But if I'm getting a $400,000 loan and getting only $250 a month in passive income, that's a lot of risk on the table. I'd much rather look for a property that's $100,000 that makes me $250 a month. But here's the thing. A lot of people will be thinking, well, that's not a property I would want to live in. Like, yeah, I completely agree. In fact, all the 30 plus properties that I own, I literally have only seen one of them before I bought it. All of them, I trust realtors. I trust my inspectors. I get everybody else to do the work for me. Now, what I do, though, is we look at the properties and we make sure that give you specific numbers like you're asking. So I have one student, I was just on a call with, I think it was yesterday, and we're looking at properties. I want to say it's Georgia. Is it Columbia? Columbia, Georgia, one of the two. Anyways, he's getting an under contract, a house for $106,000. Now, $106,000, he's accounting for all of expenses. And what we do, remember, we're building a business. We need to account for all of our expenses. Now, the great thing about real estate investing is we have expenses like taxes, insurance, all that sort of stuff. We have those expenses. But here's the great thing, Chantel, and you'll definitely get this. I don't pay my taxes on my properties. I don't pay my insurance. I don't pay my property managers. I don't pay for repairs. I don't pay any of that stuff. My tenants pay for all of that. And then on top of that, I tack on my $250 a month at minimum for passive income. So this is what he's doing. He's buying this house for $106,000. We account for property manager, taxes, insurance. We make sure all those expenses are in our numbers when we're running them. And then we make sure that for how much we could rent it for. And here's the thing, realtors definitely know how much that properties are renting for, but who is even better at it? It's the property managers, the ones that literally have properties right around the area. Now, you'll know you have an expert property manager if you say, hey, property manager, I'm looking at buying this property. Here's the address. Can you tell me what type of clientele I'm going to get? What's the vacancy factor? How much I could rent it for? And will you even manage the property? And they come back to you and say, oh, yeah, I know that area. In fact, that house, I drive by it all the time. I have a house that I'm renting or managing that's, around the block. And we were trying to get $1,600 for it, but Zillow says $1,600, but we couldn't get, you guys know, everybody knows Zillow's not the expert. Zillow's going to lead you astray. But if you try to go off of Zillow's number saying $1,600, but it only rent for $1,500, you need to adjust your numbers. So the experts like the realtors and the experts like the property managers are going to lead you in the right direction. So real numbers, $106,000 for this property. He's going to be making $257 a month at minimum in passive income, accounting for the mortgage. What he's going to do, he's going to use his home equity line of credit to buy the property, own it for 6 months. Then after seasoning period, he's going to refinance and pull that cash back out, have a 30-year loan on that property, pull all that cash back out and equity because he's buying it. I think it's got like $20,000 in equity in the property because he got a really good deal on it. And then he's going to buy the next property. He's recycling that money over and over again. And he's making, like I said, $257 a month. And remember, the $250, that's a minimum. I have some properties making me $300, $400, $600, $800 a month. In fact, the properties I bought in 2006, 2007, I still own those. Like, I remember, this is generational wealth. They're doubled. Like, I'm now making $600, $700 a month in passive income from these properties. And you can find these all the time. Now, it's a lot more work right now because it's a seller's market. But if you find good realtors that are going to help you find these good properties, now, I'm not necessarily saying off-market properties. There are good properties that are on the market, that have been on the market for a while for whatever the reason. We just make sure we get in there and we make it ready so that the tenants will want to come in and rent it.
So in the country, how many different states are you in, and what is your favorite state to buy properties in?
So I'm in Ohio personally, Ohio, Texas, and Arizona for my investment properties. I would say my favorite one is Ohio because I just understand the idea of, renting with the snow and everything like that. And I have a lot of my properties out there, but I do love Texas as well. Now, my students have been finding that Tennessee is really, really good. It's actually the last year it's been really taken off. I'll give you an example. One of my students. So in December of 2019, so like 3 months before the coronavirus hit, he started working with me. I started coaching him, and he's a younger guy, maybe like 25 years old. And in 18 months, so starting in December 2019, in 18 months, he started investing in Memphis, Tennessee. He has amassed 22 units. So he got 11 duplexes, 22 units in 18 months, and he's making like $6,000 or $7,000 a month in passive income. So there are some great properties. I personally think all over the Midwest, you're going to find great, great properties.
Love it. Well, this has been great. Tell listeners where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I also have a real estate investing course I love to give away for free. Do you mind if I share that with everybody?
Sure, absolutely.
So I have my investing course. I'll just give it to you for free. I think of me like your next door neighbor who figured out a way to do this. I just want to give it to you. So if you text the word rental, RENTAL, rental to 33777, rental to 33777. Just text that. I'll literally give you my investing course to show you how to build the business first, how to find an area of the country to invest, how to make sure you're making $250 a month in passive income, how to scale your business to where you can quit your job. You can even go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. It's all one word, /free course. I'll literally just give it to you. Get started. You can also find me. I have my own podcast. It's Master Passive Income Podcast. It's literally just me teaching. I don't do very many interviews at all. It's just me teaching this. My YouTube channel, Master Passive Income as well. But yeah, I love to help as many people. Actually, my goal is to get 1,000 people investing in real estate because it's changed my life. And I love seeing other people get their lives changed as well.
Well, I love just your heart for giving back and your heart for helping others achieve what you've achieved. So thank you so much for being with us today. And you guys stay tuned. We've got another episode coming up in just a few. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Life Leadership. If you'd like to get the show notes or access more resources, log on to reallifeleaders.com/podcast to get the show notes from this episode and any other resources we might have mentioned. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to review or rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts to help spread the word. And if you have any leadership questions you want answered, email podcast@reallifeleaders.com.